Attention! What Padre Pio revealed about the Rosary could completely change your view of this prayer. For years, many have treated it as just a religious custom, but few understand what truly happens when you hold it with faith. The saint claimed that each bead touched carried hidden power, something many overlook, and it may be preventing countless blessings in your life. But what exactly manifests when someone holds the Rosary with devotion? The answer may surprise you. Accounts from people who began this practice and witnessed unbelievable changes keep pouring in. Padre Pio said that holding the Rosary was like touching the heart of God, and that this simple action could open spiritual doors that had been locked for years. But he also warned, there's a detail that could make all the difference between receiving these graces or staying stuck. And that detail might be going unnoticed in many people's lives. If you've never experienced the true effects of the Rosary, or if you've tried praying it and didn't notice anything special, perhaps something essential is missing. Padre Pio didn't just recommend this prayer, he lived it as a secret that few truly understand. And if you know how to use it correctly, you may discover something you never imagined. But before you understand this revelation, you must dive into what makes the Rosary so powerful. Padre Pio didn't just recommend the Rosary, he held it as if it were his spiritual armor. He said that each bead slipped between the fingers was like a direct blow against the forces of evil, a bridge between the human heart and God. Anyone who has held a Rosary in moments of desperation knows the inexplicable power this prayer carries. For him, it wasn't a mere custom but a spiritual secret that few truly grasp. Praying the Rosary, according to Padre Pio, was more than a religious practice, it was a meeting with the divine. He insisted that by repeating it with faith, the heart opened to invisible graces, transforming each word into a powerful link with God. Many think the Rosary is just a repetition of phrases, but those who pray it daily notice changes that cannot be explained by logic alone. The question is, who is willing to experience this power for themselves? There are accounts of people who faced impossible challenges, and by holding the Rosary, found strength they never imagined they had. Padre Pio's own life was a testimony to this mystery. He said that a Rosary in hand was a demon cast out, a miracle on its way. And the truth is, throughout history, countless testimonies confirm this statement. But why does this prayer have such a profound impact? Many look at the Rosary and think, this is just a sequence of repetitive prayers. But those who have immersed themselves in this practice know that there is something much bigger hidden behind the words. The Rosary is not just a prayer, but a path of spiritual transformation, where each Hail Mary leads the soul to a state of surrender and intimacy with God. Padre Pio taught that those who pray the Rosary with an open heart never leave the prayer the same way they entered. The secret lies in realizing that this prayer is more than a ritual, it's a living dialogue with God. Each mystery meditated upon leads the believer to relive key moments in the life of Jesus Christ, drawing them closer to the essence of the Gospel. When someone truly dedicates themselves to the Rosary, they begin to feel subtle changes in their daily life. Patience increases, inner peace strengthens, and challenges no longer seem so overwhelming. And science has already confirmed that prayer has positive effects on the brain, reducing stress and promoting well-being. Now, imagine what your life would be like if, instead of carrying just worries in your mind, you carried a Rosary in your hand. There's a reason why great saints recommend this practice. It's not superstition, but a real tool for transformation. And this is where the difference lies between just reciting words and truly understanding the deep meaning of this connection. But is it enough to just repeat the prayers, or is there something else that makes the Rosary so powerful? Many believe that simply reciting the words of the Rosary will make something happen. But Padre Pio always emphasized, what truly moves the heart of God is not the quantity of prayers, but the sincerity with which they are offered. It's no use repeating the Hail Marys mechanically, without allowing each word to penetrate the soul. The Rosary is not an empty mantra, but an invitation to total surrender, a call to put aside distractions and immerse oneself in God's presence. Imagine someone who lights a candle but forgets to look at the light. This is how those who pray without true intention are. The prayer of the Rosary should be like an intimate conversation with God and Mary, a moment where one comes before them not as someone who merely asks, but as one who trusts and surrenders to the divine will. Padre Pio said that when the prayer comes from the heart, it has the power to open doors that seemed locked. Those who have never experienced this may not have yet allowed themselves to truly pray. And what does it mean to pray truly? It means transforming each bead of the Rosary into a conscious surrender, allowing God to work where human hands can no longer reach. There are stories of people who, by praying with faith, saw unexpected changes in their lives. Some received immediate answers, others realized that the prayer itself was transforming them from within. But if surrender is essential, what role does Mary play in this journey? Many see Mary only as a historical figure, but those who experience her intercession understand that she is so much more than that. Padre Pio always said that Our Lady is not just a loving mother, but a secure bridge to God. When holding the Rosary, it's as if the faithful are placing their worries directly into her hands, trusting that each Hail Mary is a petition carried to the heart of Christ. And those who have turned to Mary with faith know that her answers often come in unexpected ways. The Bible shows us that Mary was present at the most decisive moments of Jesus' life, from the Annunciation to the cross. And if even Christ, at the height of his suffering, entrusted his mother to the care of humanity, why wouldn't we do the same? The saints affirm that there is no prayer directed to Mary that goes unanswered. She intercedes, guides, and consoles. How many people, in the face of impossible difficulties, found a solution after turning to her? The power of Marian intercession is not just in beautiful words, but in real testimonies. Mary does not replace God, but teaches us to reach Him in the quickest and safest way. Padre Pio himself said that she never abandons those who hold the Rosary with faith. And perhaps that's why so many faithful report an inexplicable peace when praying it. But if the Rosary brings such a strong connection with God, do its benefits extend beyond the spiritual life? Few realize, but the prayer of the Rosary has a direct impact on the mind and heart. Padre Pio said that those who pray with faith receive not only spiritual graces but also a peace that the world cannot give. Modern studies confirm that the rhythmic repetition of prayers helps reduce anxiety, lower stress levels, and even improve sleep quality. It's no coincidence that so many find serenity in the beads of the Rosary during moments of distress. The constant practice of this devotion strengthens emotional resilience. Those who pray the Rosary every day notice that their patience increases, their perspective on problems changes, and their strength to face challenges grows. It's as if, little by little, the soul is trained to trust more and fear less. Many testify that by turning this prayer into a habit, they left behind fears and insecurities that once seemed insurmountable. It's not just a matter of faith, it's a deep change in how the brain handles life's difficulties. And if the Rosary has this power over the mind and heart, imagine what it can do in the life of someone who surrenders to it completely. There are stories of people who, after years of suffering, found inner healing simply by holding the beads and praying consistently. But does this go beyond individual experience? What happens when this prayer is made by many voices at the same time? If anyone still doubts the power of the Rosary, just look at the countless testimonies that have emerged throughout history. Padre Pio said that this prayer was like an invisible weapon against evil and for blessings. There are accounts of people being healed from incurable diseases, families restored after years of conflict, and young people finding their way back to faith after holding the Rosary with devotion. These are not distant stories. They are real events experienced by those who trusted the strength of this prayer. One striking example is of a man who, after losing everything, found in the Rosary the only anchor left. At first, he prayed without hope, not understanding why he persisted. But over time, he noticed his mind began to calm, his strength returned, and unexpectedly, doors opened. He rebuilt his life, attributing every success to his faithfulness in prayer. Such cases are not rare. Many claim that by holding the Rosary beads, they felt an inexplicable peace and saw changes that seemed impossible. The Rosary is not a magic formula, but a path of transformation. When prayed with faith, it shapes not only external events but most importantly, the soul of the one who prays. And if so many people have already experienced this change, is there something in the very history of the Rosary that explains its tremendous spiritual strength? The Rosary didn't come out of nowhere. It has deep roots in Christian tradition and in the faithful's search for a more intimate connection with God. From the times of Christian monks, who used stones to count their prayers, to its popularization by the Catholic Church, this devotion has crossed centuries, transforming lives. It was Saint Dominic Delaware Guzman who, according to tradition, received the Rosary from the hands of the Virgin Mary as a gift for humanity. Since then, this practice has spread throughout the world as a powerful tool for evangelization and sanctification. But what makes the Rosary so special? It's not just a set of prayers, but a spiritual journey that leads the one praying to contemplate the mysteries of Christ's life. With each Hail Mary, the soul is lifted, and as one meditates on the mysteries, the mind opens to profound truths. It's no surprise that great saints have always been devoted to this prayer. Padre Pio, for example, prayed numerous rosaries each day and attributed many of the miracles he witnessed in his life to this practice. If the Rosary has managed to endure through the centuries, resisting time and cultural changes, it's because its effectiveness is real. It's not a relic of the past, but a living path of faith that continues to transform hearts today. And if, throughout history, this prayer has already changed so many lives individually, imagine the impact when it's prayed in community, uniting voices and intentions. Praying alone already has immense power, but when many voices unite with the same purpose, something even greater happens. Padre Pio taught that the Rosary, when prayed in community, creates a spiritual fortress capable of dispelling invisible evils and bringing unexpected graces. It's no coincidence that many spiritual battles have been won through this collective practice. How many times have we heard of cities being spared from tragedies or families being restored after uniting in prayer? Group prayer has a transformative effect, as it strengthens individual faith and creates a powerful bond between participants. In times of crisis, when discouragement sets in and solitary prayer seems ineffective, being surrounded by others who share the same devotion makes all the difference. It has been proven that spirituality lived in community increases emotional resilience and hope, lightening the weight of life's difficulties. A collective Rosary, then, becomes a true shield against hopelessness. And if so many graces are achieved through communal prayer, why don't more families and churches make this practice a habit? Perhaps it's because there is a lack of awareness that the Rosary is not just a personal devotion, but a legacy that must be passed on. And if this legacy is not nurtured, how will future generations experience the same spiritual strength? The modern world is full of distractions that pull young people away from faith, but the Rosary can be a path to reconnect them with God. Padre Pio said this prayer was a spiritual school, capable of shaping strong souls ready for life's challenges. But if no one teaches the young how to pray, how can they discover this treasure? If it's not passed from generation to generation, the Rosary risks being forgotten, leaving a void where spiritual strength should be. Many believe young people aren't interested in this practice, but just look at the many testimonies of teenagers and adults who, upon discovering the Rosary, found meaning in their lives. It doesn't need to be imposed as an obligation, but presented as a refuge amid the chaos of the world. Prayer groups, challenges among friends, and even apps that teach how to pray are effective ways to make this devotion accessible and appealing to the new generation. If the saints trusted in the Rosary to get through difficult times, why wouldn't today's youth do the same? But for this to happen, someone must guide them, showing not only how to pray but what it can transform in their lives. And those who persevere in this prayer soon realize that the Rosary is not just an occasional practice, but a continuous journey of spiritual growth. Praying the Rosary is not merely a habit, but a path to maturing in faith. Padre Pio always emphasized that this daily prayer shapes the heart and mind, leading the faithful to a deeper level of spirituality. At first, it may seem like just a repetition of words, but over time, each Hail Mary becomes a step toward a life more aligned with God. And those who persevere discover that the Rosary is not an end in itself, but an ongoing process of transformation. Those who maintain this practice notice changes that go far beyond the moment of prayer. The worries that once dominated their thoughts begin to lose their power, patience strengthens, and answers that once seemed distant begin to appear. It's as if the Rosary restructures the way one approaches life, making the soul more serene and confident. That's why so many saints never abandoned this devotion. For them, the Rosary was the secret to staying firm, even in the face of the greatest trials. But if this prayer has such a profound impact, why don't more people practice it regularly? Perhaps because many haven't yet experienced its fruits or believe it's something difficult to maintain in their routine. However, those who take the step and decide to integrate the Rosary into their daily life soon realize that it becomes an inexhaustible source of peace and strength. But for this transformation to happen, one must take the first step and commit to this practice. The Rosary is within everyone's reach, but few hold it with the determination to transform their lives. Padre Pio repeated tirelessly that this prayer was a shield against evil and a key to God's graces. Those who desire a firmer faith, deeper peace, and a life more aligned with divine purposes cannot ignore this devotion. And the best part? You don't need to wait for a perfect moment to start. Just decide, pick up the Rosary, and pray, even if, at first, it feels difficult or meaningless. Many begin this practice without feeling anything extraordinary, but over time, they notice subtle and profound changes. Anxiety gives way to trust, challenges no longer seem so daunting, and God's presence becomes something real and constant. It doesn't matter if the prayer is done alone or in a group, the important thing is persistence. The big question is, who is willing to test this path and see, with their own eyes, the transformations it can bring? So why delay any longer? If so many saints, including Padre Pio, trusted in the Rosary to overcome difficulties, what's stopping someone from following this example? The invitation is made. Start today, experience this devotion, and see for yourself what can happen. And if you already have this habit, share it with others, because a Rosary prayed can change a life, but a Rosary taught can change entire generations. Many are unaware of the Rosary as a spiritual shield, but Padre Pio warned, this prayer not only draws us closer to God, but also drives away the forces that attempt to lead the faithful astray from the path of truth. He said that each Hail Mary was like a blow against evil because when a Christian holds the Rosary with faith, they are not just praying, they are entering a spiritual battle. It's no coincidence that great saints called this prayer a powerful weapon. There are countless reports of people who, by making the Rosary a habit, felt significant changes around them. Inexplicable anxieties disappeared, constant nightmares ceased, and a sense of peace took over their homes. This happens because fervent prayer not only strengthens the one who prays but also seals the environment with divine presence. The Bible already shows how prayer can defeat invisible forces, and the Rosary, as a complete prayer, becomes a true wall of protection for those who use it with faith. But if the Rosary has this power, why do so many set it aside? Perhaps distraction is the primary strategy to prevent the faithful from arming themselves spiritually. However, those who become aware of the strength of this prayer begin to see changes not only in their own lives but also in the lives of those around them. But beyond protection from evil, can the Rosary also directly influence the material life of those who practice it? Many people believe that prayer is limited to the spiritual life, but Padre Pio taught that the Rosary also opens doors in the material world. This doesn't mean it's a magic formula for wealth or achievements, but rather a means to align one's personal, professional, and financial life with God's will. Those who pray with faith find that difficult decisions become clearer, unexpected opportunities arise, and seemingly unsolvable problems find a surprising resolution. Many testify that by dedicating themselves to the Rosary, they saw changes in their families, their work, and even their health. This happens because this prayer brings order to the soul, and a peaceful mind is able to make wiser decisions. Moreover, Christ himself promised, "But seek first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added to you." Matthew 6 verse 33. When someone puts spirituality first, everything else begins to fall into place. So, if the Rosary has the power to strengthen the spirit and even influence the material aspects of life, what stops so many from making this practice a priority? Perhaps it's the lack of understanding of how much this prayer can transform reality. But those who have experienced its effects know that when you hold a rosary with faith, something extraordinary always happens. Now that you know the true power of the rosary, the question is, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you keep it as a simple curiosity, or will you put it into practice and transform your life? Padre Pio taught that it's not enough to just know, you must act. And if history has proven anything, it's that those who hold the rosary with faith are never the same. If you already pray the rosary, how about taking it a step further and making it an unshakable commitment? If you don't have this habit yet, why not start right now? Just take the first step and allow this prayer to begin acting in your life. And remember, each Hail Mary prayed with the heart can be the key to a change you never imagined. Are you ready to experience this for yourself? If this content resonated with you, don't let this journey end here. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and keep following new teachings that can strengthen your faith even more. The Rosary is just the beginning. There is so much more waiting for you.